For today, we are talking about something that is of great importance to our body and health. It is so important, losing 40% of it could endanger our lives. If you guessed blood, you are correct. Specifically, we are diving into the topic of the components of blood. But first, what exactly is blood and why is it so important? It's the life-giving fluid that makes up around 8% of our total body weight. It serves as the ultimate delivery service for our body and ensures important nutrients and oxygen are delivered to all the cells that make up the tissues within our body. Part of our blood also are responsible for fighting off viruses and bacteria that enters our body. One more important fact about our blood is it is made up of different components having completely different functions. This image gives an overview of the various components of blood and their percentage representations in a given whole blood sample. This is the fact that we will be focusing on today's topic. Let us begin with the component that makes up the biggest portion of the formed elements in the blood, the red blood cells, also known as erythrocytes. Erythrocytes take up 99% of what's in the formed elements of our blood. They are pictured as disc-shaped cells, about 7 to 8 nanometers small, and lacks a nucleus and mitochondria. What they do have a lot of is hemoglobin, a protein that gives the blood its red color. As mentioned earlier, erythrocytes are an integral part of the circulation of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the body. Their unique shape of biconcave disc and the presence of hemoglobin, a molecular iron-rich protein, let them do this task very efficiently. In the lungs, red blood cells pick up oxygen via the hemoglobin molecule, becoming oxyhemoglobin. They will then circulate through the bloodstream into the various tissues and cells of the body, which uses oxygen for cellular respiration. In return, the red blood cells collect carbon dioxide, which is a waste product of cellular respiration, and carry it back to the lungs where it is exhaled. If the erythrocytes are not functioning properly, it can result in various diseases that will eventually complicate oxygen transportation and other important tasks. Anemia is one of the more commonly red blood cell-associated diseases. It affects the number or quality of erythrocytes, hence it is often defined as having low number of red blood cells, leading to symptoms like fatigue, weakness, and shortness of breath due to ineffective oxygen delivery. There is also the sickle cell disease, which is characterized by a reformation of the shape of the erythrocytes into a sickle or crescent shape. Next component are the white blood cells or leukocytes, which are much less common than red blood cells and make up only about less than 1% of our blood. White blood cells are also much larger than red blood cells, and unlike the red blood cells, they possess a nucleus and mitochondria. Their role is also very different from that of red blood cells, since their roles are all about the immune function, recognizing and destroying invading microbes like bacteria and viruses. The different types of white blood cells are identified by their microscopic appearance, and each has a different specialized function. The two main types are the granulocytes and the agranulocytes. They are distinguished by the presence or absence of visible cytoplasmic granules under a microscope. Granulocytes, including neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, possess prominent granules in their cytoplasm. In contrast, agranulocytes, comprising lymphocytes and monocytes, lack these visible granules. This fundamental distinction in granule presence dictates their functions and roles in the immune system's defense mechanisms. Abnormalities in white blood cells can lead into several immune system disorders and diseases. Among such disease is leukemia, which is a type of cancer that disrupts production of the white blood cells in the bone marrow, leading to excessive production and proliferation of abnormal cells. There is also lymphoma, which is defined as the cancer of the lymphatic system caused by mutation in a specific type of white blood cells called the lymphocytes. Autoimmune disorders are also associated with abnormalities in the white blood cells. These includes rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, which develops when the body's defense mechanisms have malfunctioned and begin to attack healthy tissues and organs. The next component of blood we are going to tackle are the platelets or thrombocytes, which also only makes up about less than 1% of our blood. These are the tiny, about 2 to 4 nanometers in diameter, disc-shaped cells that help regulate blood flow when any part of the body is damaged by performing their role in blood clotting. Platelets are formed through the fragmentation of large cells known as megakaryocytes, with each fragment producing 2,000 to 3,000 platelets as it undergoes division. The main task of platelets is to provide blood clotting or hemostasis in order to avoid excessive bleeding after a wound. This process occurs in 3 main steps. First is for the platelets to detect and adhere to the injured endothelium as it exposes collagen and other membrane proteins to initiate the clotting cascade. Upon adhesion, the platelets transform biochemically, where they change their shape from rounded discs to a regular shape with tentacle-like projections. These projections, together with the special receptors on the platelet surface, bind tightly to the damaged blood vessel wall and to each other, leading to the creation of a platelet plug. At the same time, they release a range of clotting factors stored inside their granules that initiate the coagulation pathway and form an insoluble fibrin mesh, which finally adds to the initial platelet plug. This action of platelet aggregation, adhesion, and coagulation factor activation eventually results in the formation of a solid blood clot that seals the injury, preventing blood loss. Lastly is the plasma, which is the liquid part of the human blood, making up as much as 55% of its volume, and it acts as the transporting mechanism for the nutrients and gases around the body. Comprising mostly of water, which is around 90%, plasma also serves as the medium for dissolved solutes such as electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and chloride, and proteins like albumin, globulins, and fibrinogen, as well as the hormones and other nutrients like glucose, amino acids, and lipids. It also includes waste products like urea and creatinine, and gases such as dissolved oxygen and carbon dioxide. Albumin is the most abundant protein in the plasma, and it helps keep the right balance of fluids and carries things like fatty acids and hormones around our body. Globulins is another type of protein in the plasma that includes the antibodies that helps our immune system fight off infections. Then there is fibrinogen that plays a role in blood clotting. Plasma also contains clotting factors, enzymes, and other proteins that all works together to keep our body healthy. And that is all for the components of blood. Thank you for watching.